Hey everybody, welcome to Independent Living News. Chris Mason here with Lee Bellinger. Lee, how you doing?
Hi, Chris. Hi. How are you doing?
Doing great. Talking about what a Hillary Clinton term might look like, and you could really say that's a third Obama term. So specifically in the July issue, you're talking about energy and folks on the left going after Exxon to push this specific agenda. And I just wonder if you might go a little further into what's going on there around energy and Exxon and that whole deal.
Yeah, Obama. One of the things that's about the Obama administration, unintended consequences. They were so hostile to energy companies that the energy companies started operating much, much more smartly. Even though, like ExxonMobil, has always been really politically adept, and they've always been, kept their message clean and straight and clear. And this is a case why these 17 state attorney generals' offices are subpoenaing them and attacking. They're attacking them on the premise that because they're climate deniers, they're misserving their stockholders and somehow harming their stockholders and not acting like a proper publicly controlled corporation, and that this is unfair. And one of the attorney generals, I'm just going to quote it from my story. They're basically sending out a lot of subpoenas. Exxon is pushing back, and they're upset about what he calls in a memo he sent out to the other ones, the Exxon's First Amendment opportunism. Oh my God. They're actually exercising their First Amendment rights, and they're upset about this. This is opportunism. This is like standing in the way of proper regulation, that you actually dare speak out about the consequences of the regulation. This is how out of control public employees have gotten. Public employees have forgotten. They need to be reminded that they work for us. They think we work for them, and they're upset about the First Amendment. Well, I am so sorry. I'm really not. I'm just saying. And so why are the left so determined to do this? And it's really the energy companies under Obama, because they were so strict and because the energy companies were operating so smartly, that they came up with the fracking innovation and really made that. And so all of a sudden, America is energy independent, and the world has much bigger supplies reserve. Total global reserve of oil is off the charts now. And what this has done is it's dropped the price of oil, obviously, and it has been devastating to countries that have nationalized. They're socialist countries in most cases that have nationalized their energy sectors, because that's how Venezuela under Chavez was wreaking havoc. There was an artificial shortage of oil. Okay, not artificial, but there were limited supplies of oil, and they had oil, and they were spending money like sending, gifts to people in American ghettos, and he was hugging everybody that hated America, and he created this socialist regime, and they had all the money in the world. They had all the oil energy in the world. And the same situation with Russia. Now Russia, when these countries depend on this oil money the way they do, it's terrible. So this fracking innovation has hit the left where it lives in Venezuela, and it's hit the global left where it lives. It's also taken away a lot of power of OPEC and all these other countries. We actually have options to tell them to go to hell. If we had somebody smart enough to come in and say, hey, we don't need you anymore. You're not important, and you were never important except for your oil. And I have a feeling that Hillary is pushing to limit fracking and undo that breakthrough. So this attack on the oil companies is part and parcel. So the first part of the attack is the 17 state attorney generals going after Exxon, and Exxon is pushing back. They're having some success in pushing back, but it sends a message, and they're trying to gum up the works with Exxon so that they can ultimately nationalize it. I promise you, a third Obama term, will be a full court press by the left to clean up that energy thing because they did not like that fracking breakthrough. And it would never have happened if it had been a state-owned enterprise. It would have been a creaky state. With a creaky state-owned enterprise, they get to manage shortages. They get more power. The more shortages there are of energy, the more power the energy department has, the more sway over our lives. But cheap energy is a nightmare for the left. Obama did not want this to happen. It was an unintended consequence of him micromanaging energy. But the bottom line was that energy companies like Exxon were politically smart enough to stay one step ahead. And overall, the energy companies came up with the enhancement of fracking. It was in existence to some degree, but I think that they operated smarter because they were under more political threat. It's kind of like airline industry. They were used to operating with tight margins with more expensive fuels, and now that it's cheap, they're getting slacker. So if energy goes up again, the airline industry they'll have to be toughened up again. But they were actually very well. They were good at managing high energy costs, and now that it's cheap, they can be slack, and they can be a lot slacker in their budgets and so forth because they've got big savings on energy. So these things have unintended consequences. Is my only point.
Yeah, right. I mean, to me, one of the things that I think about when thinking about how fracking came to be, it really speaks to what can happen with a free market, and how, yeah, you're right. If this had been fracking, never would have happened if this was a state run. You get that when you get business owners and free enterprise.
That's right, but the genie's out of the bottle now because no matter what happens in the United States of America, other countries, it means that it's about drilling sideways. So you're basically saying that all these wells that have run out, and they haven't even figured out, I don't think that the technology is there to frack in the deep ocean yet, but once that happens, it's really going to be game over for expensive energy for a long time. I've predicted a while back, I think energy might rebalance at $2.50 a gallon eventually, because and everybody's talking about the Chinese attacking us, trade wise, but actually Saudi Arabia has been attacking us by they decided to go for it and keep pumping the oil in the hope that they would get rid of the fracking companies and stop the innovation. And to some degree that's worked, but it hasn't worked enough to prevent them from now there has-beens, and it's going to have huge implications for how much we need to support them and whether those countries even are going to be there. The autocratic rulers are even going to be there because the cheap energy, I think, is here to stay. That's my belief. The world global energy reserve is much, much larger than it's ever been.
Yeah, well, here's me hoping that you're right on that one.